Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel, Sweet Tea Reads. My name's Teresa, and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. So this video might be in two parts. It really just depends on how long it ends up being. I didn't read like a ton of books in August, but I have a lot to say about some of the books that I did, so it might be a long video. Also, just so you all know, I'm really tired. I got up a little bit too early this morning. Ranger, my dog, woke me up a few times last night to go outside. We have new neighbors that moved in behind us. Basically, my backyard touches their front yard, so the fence line, we share a fence line, and they have dogs, and they just brought the dogs over for the first time today. So Ranger has been all sorts of crazy today and just kind of doing his thing. So you might see cameos of him or the camera getting knocked down or something if he decides to come running in here like crazy like he does sometimes. But anyways guys, yeah, I am pretty tired. I was doing good, and then I sat down to film this, and I'm just like sat down and I'm like, this chair is really cozy, and now I want to curl up and take a nap. But it's not even that late. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm home alone, and I don't know for how long that'll be or when I'll get a chance to really sit down with like minimal distractions. So I'm gonna try and pump this video out for you all. But I'm also just gonna be kind of laid back and cozy in this chair. So yeah. And you will know by the end of this video if I do a two-parter or not. I will like insert a clip of me being like, hey, two-parter, because it got too long. But I probably won't know that till editing. So it just is what it is. But I really hope you stick around and hang out with me today and just kind of like a kickback, laid back video where I talk about my August reads. Okay, so if you guys watched my TBR video from August, which I will make sure and link above, you'll see that I was doing my normal Jurassic TBR, which is my TBR game that I do every month. And then I was also taking part in the Aurelium readathon, which is hosted by G over at Book Roast. She was doing the magical readathon, Aurelium, August equinox. I'm pretty sure I said all that correctly. And I was taking place in both of those. So I'm just going to kind of go through the Jurassic TBR ones and then go through what I was supposed to read for Jurassic TBR and what their prompts were, what I was supposed to read for Aurelium and what their prompts were. And then I will actually go in and talk about the books. So a little bit different than how I normally do my wrap-ups, but I figure, hey, we're just gonna try something new. Hopefully this will keep me more on track. So for my Jurassic TBR, my first role or my first prompt was to read a book club book. And basically this is just me picking any book club in the universe, joining in on the book that they're reading that month. And I decided to go along with, there's a few Christian booktubers who have a book club that's like a private one, like within themselves, but a few of them open it up for their subscribers to do like discussion videos and stuff like that. So they were reading the book of Galatians this month, and that is a book in the New Testament from the Bible, and I went ahead and read that. So I did complete this. The next prompt I had was an own TBR, and I do like a random number generator, and it picked for me Aurelia's Colors by Jeffrey Overstreet. I ended up not reading this book, but I did switch this book out because this is my game, my rules. I'm able to, you know, do what I want. So I switched it out for another book on my physical TBR, and I switched it out for Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter, and I did finish this book. My next prompt was to read the shortest book on my TBR. And my shortest book that I have on my TBR is actually a part of this one. So this is a bind up of two different novellas or short stories. I don't know the difference between a short story and a novella. But the book that it picked for me, like the absolute shortest, is The Death of David Pickett. Hopefully that's focusing for you all. I went ahead and DNF'd it. I was not a fan of that book at all. And then I did actually go ahead and read Dusted by Stars. These are both by Gian Mateas. So Dusted by Stars was the second shortest book on my TBR, and since I DNF'd the one, I do count DNFs, but I figured it's super short, why not just read it? So I read Dusted by Stars. I landed on thriller next, and I chose to read My Summer Darlings by May Cobb, and I did finish this one. Then I landed on fantasy, and you guys, I read Nettle and Bone for this prompt, and I absolutely love this book, so I'm really excited to talk about this one with you guys. After the fantasy, I landed on a thriller, and I chose Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins, and I did read this one. So complete so far. My Just TBR was super nice to me this month, and I only had like 8 books on it, I think. Which you'll see if you watch my September TBR. It's very mean. But the next one I landed on was fantasy. And I chose, actually, this is book 1 in the Ravenwood Saga. I chose book 3 in the Ravenwood Saga, though I did reread this book to catch up. It's been a while since I've read the series. So I reread this one. I read book 2 and book 3 pretty much back to back in August. So yeah, I'm counting it that I read them all on audiobook. I just own the physical one. A physical copy of the first one. But Cry of the Raven was book 3, and that's the one that was for this prompt, and I read it, so I completed it. And that was it for my game itself. And next I did the Aurelian TBR, so let me go ahead and tell you what all I picked for that. So I am in the Beastmaster School of Training, and for this I had to read, I can't remember how many books I had to read, but the first one I had to do was to read a book, to start a book with a drink. Basically, you pick any book you want, you pick a drink, you drink it while reading the book. And I chose My Summer Darlings. Like I said, I did complete this one. I was drinking like some guava juice or something when I was reading this, so this one, it was complete for that class. The next prompt that I had was to read a book with a animal familiar or a animal companion, and I chose Nettle and Bone for this. I was trying to like match up as much books as I could, so I didn't have a whole lot to read on my TBR. But I chose Nettle and Bone for this because there is a bone dog, and there's also a demon-possessed chicken. It was a really good book. So I did complete this one as well. After that was to read a book with a raven on the cover or in the title, and I chose Cry of the Raven. Again, this is book 1. But I read book 3 of the series, which raven is in the title. It's a Ravenwood Saga, so I counted it and I read it, so I'm good so far. After that, I was supposed to read a book with a rabbit on the cover, and I chose Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter. As you guys can see, there's a little bunny there, and there's one on the spine as well, if that focuses. So while it's not on the front cover, like, I don't care, I'm still counting it. There's bunnies on the cover itself, so that's what I read for this prompt. The next book I read, the next prompt was to pick a book from someone's worst book list that you think you might like. So basically I just had to find somebody who had a worst books of whatever and pick one of those books. And I found Murphy Napier's video of worst books of like 20 something. I can't remember what year it was. But anyways, she had The Night Shift. Was it The Night Shift? No, it's not The Night Shift. It is, that one I really like that book. Survive the Night by Riley Sager. That one. She had that one on there, and I read that, and I gotta say I'm kind of in the camp with a lot of other people saying it wasn't the best. So, but I did read it, so far so good, right? Only a couple more prompts to go. I know I didn't complete this fully, but I got real dang close, you guys. After that prompt, my next prompt was to read a book with a single item on the cover, or a focus of a single item on the cover. I chose Phantom Heart by Kelly Craig because the mask is a big focus on the cover. I started this book, but I didn't finish it, but I'm counting it for a win because I did start it, and I will finish it up this month. The next prompt was to read one of the oldest books on your TBR, and that is Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I chose to interpret this as in like the oldest written book on my TBR. It also has been one of the oldest books on my TBR because I've been wanting to read this since I was a kid. But either way it works. Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. I actually DNF'd this. It's a soft DNF though. I'm just not in the right headspace to be reading this right now. I struggle with classics. Even though this was written in the 40s, it's still kind of older language. And I really struggle with that. My cognitive issues that I have. And I tried listening to the audiobook of it, and I just don't think the narrator was vibing with me. I just could not get into this book this month. So I'm still counting it because I did try it. And it is a soft DNF, and I'm going to pick this up on a better time or a different time when my head is in a better place. And the very last prompt that I was supposed to do to complete this readathon was to read an orange book or orange cover. I chose The Science of Jurassic Park and the Lost World, or How to Build a Dinosaur by Rob DeSalle and David Lindley. And as you guys can see, there is plenty of orange on this cover. I'm really sad to say that I didn't even start this book. Like, I'm so sad to say it because I was so excited for this one. Just stuff came up and I just wasn't able to get to it. So I'm pretty bummed about that. But other than that, I read pretty much all the books in my TBR. Like I said, I soft DNF one, DNF'd actually a full DNF one, soft DNF another, and started a third. So I would say that I did pretty good. So now that you know all of the books that I read or was supposed to read, which again, only one of them that I really didn't even touch, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my thoughts. Sorry for the change in angles, you guys, but like I said, I'm pretty exhausted right now, and I just wanted to be a little bit more cozy in this chair while I sit and talk with you all. I kind of just have a nice, more cozy type of video because it is coming into fall, even though it's still pretty warm here. It is going into the fall season, and I figured I'd just cozy up and talk. I don't know how well I will be at articulating my thoughts in this video. I am, like I mentioned multiple times, quite tired, and unfortunately that does affect my brain. My brain is tired. So I will do my best, you guys, to give you good reviews. I know I'm not the best book reviewer. It just is what it is, but I really would like to try and do my best at least to give you guys comprehensive reviews and stuff that, you know, hopefully you will know whether or not this is something that you would like to read, or if you're like, heck no, I need to avoid that book. So just kind of hang in there with me. If there is any book in particular that you want to hear more of my thoughts on, you want maybe a full-on review, more in depth, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to do that. Like I said, this is probably going to end up being a two-parter just because of the fact that I really have some thoughts on some of these books that I read, and I don't want to have to limit myself to time, but we shall see. Like I said, in editing, I will figure out if this is something that I'm going to put into two parts or not. So let's just go ahead and start talking about the books I read last month, August, that I read in August. So the first one that I read, or kind of read throughout the month of August, was the Book of Galatians. And this is a book in the Bible, in the New Testament of the Bible, written by Paul the Apostle. I very much enjoyed reading this book. I have read through majority of the New Testament before, but it was really nice to be able to sit down and just physically read, like, out of my Bible, because normally I listen to my Bible on an app on my phone, but to be able to like fully sit down and be immersed in the actual physical Bible was really good for me. And God has really been working in my life and kind of bringing me closer to him and helping my walk with him grow stronger. So I should have taken notes. I don't really know what all to say about this book. It was just really a reminder that us as born-again Christians, if you are a born-again Christian, that we are no longer held captive really to our sins. We're no longer slave to our sins. We don't have to worry about the judgment of others. We need to, some things that really resonated with me was how we need to stop comparing ourselves to other people, that we are unique in our own way, and we are not supposed to be judging, we are not supposed to be jealous or covetous of other people's things or their success, which is something that I have been struggling with a little bit. I don't know, I guess I've just been feeling kind of down on myself because I'm not as successful as some of the other booktubers on here who have started like after I started. And it's been a little bit hard for me to kind of not have that jealousy creep up, and so it's been difficult for me to just be like happy for them without looking at myself and being like, well, why don't I have that? How do they have it and I don't? Kind of situation. And God was really reminding me that it's like, you know what, it's not about that, it's about what I am doing for the Lord, and he has a different calling for different people. you know? So I'm trying to remember that. I'm trying to keep myself from getting too wrapped up in the number game, getting too wrapped up in comparing myself to others. So that was a really nice reminder. That, you know, like I said, I read it throughout the month. I read it like 2 or 3 times throughout the entire month of August. I just read like a chapter a day or something like that. So yeah, I was really glad that they chose that, and really good to get back in my Bible. And now I am trying in September to make sure that I read the physical Bible every single day, even if it's just like a chapter or a couple verses. I just need to read physically every single day. So this kind of kickstarted my Bible reading again, and I'm really, really happy about that. Okay, I'm not going to go in any particular order of the books I read or whatever, because quite frankly, for one, I can't really remember what I read in what order, and 2, they're just piled up next to me. I'm just going to grab off the top of the pile and just go that way and talk to you guys. So first is Screwtape Letters. Like I had mentioned, I have started this. I got into like chapter 4 or 5. It's a really short little book. There's only, let's see, 172 pages, and that's like with the acknowledgments and with the extra stuff. And let's see, where did I read to? Yeah, I got to like page 40 out of 172. So whatever percentage that is. Again, this was not a DNF as in I don't like this book or I don't want to read this book. This was just it was difficult. It was difficult for me to read. I've mentioned in a video before, I will link it if you guys are curious, you want to go watch it, you know, you don't have to. But it just kind of explains a little bit more about myself and my disability and why reading sometimes can be hard for me. And I don't want to like rehash it. So if you want to know why, check out that video. But anyways, English or like classics are just difficult. And I always struggled with classics. Like I remember even being in school, like in high school and stuff. Granted, I was sick then, so this could very well be the disease or my disability. But reading like Homer, the Odyssey, Romeo and Juliet, like reading the actual like plays or whatever's, I was always so like, I don't get it. These words, I don't understand them. But then I would see the video adaptation, the movie adaptation, like we'd always watch the ones that was like pretty much word for word. And I was like, oh, what, totally understand it now. Pride and Prejudice was the same way. I read Pride and Prejudice and I was like, I don't really get it. I don't understand why people are so like in love with this book. Like, eh. But then I watched the adaptation again, where it's like word for word, well, for the most part, you know. And I bawled, and I was like, this is amazing. So I don't know what it is. It's just the language is very difficult for me to comprehend. I try listening to an audiobook because I do comprehend things way better, just in general, through audio than I do through reading. But you know, the narrator, I just felt like the narrator was kind of trying, maybe they talk like this in general, like I'm not dissing the narrator, but it had kind of an older English voice, like really sounded like he was from the time period this was written. And I just didn't jive with it. So I figured, you know what, instead of trying to push my way through this, struggling and not enjoying it, I'm going to put it down for now, and I will pick it up at a different time. So let me tell you what this book is about, actually, though. That would be helpful. Screwtape Letters is about, basically, it's a epistic, no, what's the word? Whatever, when it's told in letters, right? This whole book is told in letters. And it's basically Screwtape, who is a demon, and he's writing letters to Wormwood, who is his, like, nephew or something, or like his underling. And he's basically advising Wormwood on how to handle his human charge, basically, and how to keep the human from becoming a Christian, how to keep the human from being good, and different things that, like, how you trick them, how the demons can trick us. And it's really creepy, and it's really good. And I really, really want to read it fully, but I have to wait till my brain is ready. Okay. After that, let's go to a book that I actually finished. That's Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I believe I gave this book either 3.5 or 5 star. I can't be 100% sure. Like, I'm filming on my phone, and my computer's plugged in the other room, so I can't look it up right now. But it was either like a 3.5 or a 5 star. So it's about this woman and her boyfriend who are like in Maui, and her boyfriend is like Hawaii, and her boyfriend is like super rich, but he's kind of not wanting to take money from his family, so he's bumming it basically, and he has a boat, and so they're trying to like struggle their way through fixing their boat up to be able to travel the world. Like, it's a sailboat, I think. And they meet these two girls, and these girls are like, hey, we want you to take us to this island. It's called Moreau Island, and this island is known for like shipwrecks, and I guess back during the war there was rumors of cannibalism and different things that had taken place on this island. So it's this creepy island kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and they kind of commissioned this couple to take them. So they get to this island, and as they're there, they meet up with this other couple. Everything seems great. They're having a grand time, kind of like no worries in the world, right? Just totally well off together, or like hanging out together and just having a grand old time on this island, until a random stranger shows up, and things start to go downhill very, very fast. There are a lot of secrets. There are a lot of twists and turns, a lot of backstabbing in the past, in the present. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun ride. I think it was Becca from Becca in the Books. I can't be 100% on that though, but she said that she thinks she would have enjoyed this a lot more if there was more of a paranormal aspect, or if it was more horror than thriller. And I was like, yeah, I could totally see that, because the island is kind of, in the beginning, like built up to be a big part. And in reality, like they never really delve into that. Like they talk a little bit about like the cannibalism and stuff, or like the bad things that happen on this island, but it's never truly explored and explained. And it doesn't really, you kind of go into it thinking the island is going to be a character in the book, right? But it's not really. It doesn't end up being that. It's just kind of it's just a setting, really. I think if the author would have played more into the island, maybe the paranormal or something along those lines, I think it would have been much more enjoyable. It does have, one of the reasons why I didn't rate it as high is it does have the cheating trope in here, which I very dislike. I'm not a fan of cheating in my books at all. And it did talk about it in a way that's like, it wasn't praised, but it wasn't like hardcore. And it did talk about kind of like the damages that it was done, but it wasn't like it was a big deal, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just was not a fan of that at all. So that automatically dropped my rating, just because, again, really, really don't like that in my books. Definitely have like toxic friendships, toxic girl friendships. I think like the first half was pretty fun, like getting to know the characters, kind of exploring the island, and kind of seeing how that they interact with each other. And this book very much deals with like kind of like feminine empowerment, because the guys in here are pretty douchey. Actually, like no one in this book is a good person. Like they're all terrible people, and they've all done terrible things. It does touch on the topic of like men who use women, whether that be sexually, like rape and stuff, or just kind of string you along, like playboy kind of stuff. It definitely talks about that topic. Talks about heartache and friendships, and you know, good and bad, and kind of like it's us against them kind of mentality. So I did enjoy all of that. The ending, I wasn't the biggest fan of the ending. I saw part of it coming, not all of it, like the beginning of the ending. It's like the beginning of the climax I was shocked by, but then like the final like boom moment in this book, I guessed it, and I was like, it's okay. Not really where I would have taken it, but that's just me. Yeah, I don't know. So those are my thoughts on this book. It was a fun summer read though, for sure. Like I read this like the 1st of August, and it did really give me those hot, sticky summer vibes, so I did enjoy that about this book a lot. Hey guys, so this is the end of this part of the video. This actually ended up being a 3-parter. I talked too much. I am working on doing vlogs throughout the month, so I don't have to talk as much during my wrap-ups. I can just kind of do more precise things, and if you want to know more in depth, you can watch the vlogs. Like I said, this is a 3-parter, so I will go ahead and link parts 2 and 3. If you want to watch all of my thoughts and things on these videos, go check it out. Thanks for watching.